roll another blunt, roll another shot. I get fucked up, off liquor and pot and pop. Let me tell y'all what's happening. Bitch ain't doing no capping. Chillin' with dubs in the video, showing love, cause they know that I be rapping. All the damn time when I'm rapping, I'ma tell y'all what's happening. What's happening? I'ma pull the act up, I'ma roll the back up, then I get cracking.
Yo, what is up, people? What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Smoking Podcast. I am your host, Big Afford Entertainment. Thank you very much for popping in, checking out my video. But today's episode is definitely going to be a special one because I personally was just going through YouTube and I seen that Beau DeMayo popped a video out there, and I was like, oh, let me see what's going on here. And if y'all don't know, Beau DeMayo was the showrunner of X-Men 97, who was fired, and then a whole bunch of shit started coming out, and there's been this back and forth between him and Marvel, and it's been going on for a while now, and a lot of people have been asking for his side. Say this, tell us what's going on. So he decided to put out a video there today, and we're gonna actually go through that video. We're gonna discuss it, hear what he has to say. I would like to know if you guys in the chat, if you believe him, if you don't believe him after watching the video. I do personally believe him. I've always been a fan because I loved what he did with X-Men 97. It was the best thing that Disney Marvel has put out. That's not even a question. Hands down. He stayed true to the characters. He stayed true to the original X-Men cartoon, and it was a pleasant surprise. So we're going to go through this video, check out what he had to say, and then I would like to hear what you guys have to say about it in the comments. So let me know. And here we go.
Hey everyone. First, I want to welcome you to my new OnlyFans page. It's going to be a little bit unorthodox what I'm doing here, admittedly, but I needed a safe space to be able to post this video as well as future content without fear of harassment or censorship. And before I get to what I plan to do with this page, I first want to address the massive elephant in the room.
So, first off, I'm going to say I'm glad he did this video on YouTube as well, because I'm not signing up to his OnlyFans page. And at the same time, I'm like, well, if you want to get your message out there, don't put it behind a paywall. You know what I mean? Let us, the fans, make our own decisions. Let us watch and see what's going on without having to pay. But at the same time, I can completely understand why he's doing it, which he explains a little bit more in the video, but let's go.
The allegations being made against me are very serious, and I take them seriously. It's why I took some time to myself these last few weeks. One, to sit with my legal team and figure out how best to respond. But more importantly, to sit with those I love, those closest to me, and assure them of what I will assure you now and what they already knew. These allegations of egregious misconduct are false. The rumors being spread around me online are lies, and they are offensive.
And I'm going to pause it there real quick because it seems to be that this is the narrative. This is what these big companies do, not just Marvel, right? Whenever they have an issue with you, they try to defame your character. Like, they just go in and they will find anything and everything they can use against you to actually make it look like you're the bad guy, to pretty much discredit everything you say. Because if you come out with things that are true, or you're saying things that are true, if they spin the narrative where you're this and you're that, then majority of the people usually believe what the big company are saying instead of what the actual person who went through it is saying. So,
but more concerning is that they're a smear campaign designed to discredit my credibility in order to cover up egregious, prejudicial misconduct, stretching from select crew members on X-Men 97 all the way to the top of Marvel Studios. And they're not just trying to discredit me using incredibly misleading press releases, but also through coordinated leaks and bot attacks, as well as anonymous scoops being given to tabloid sites and podcasters. You've maybe heard some of these. I've heard rumbling and whispers about Beau.
And there are a lot of rumblings. There are a lot of podcasters out there who have done videos. I personally haven't watched them. I like to make my own decisions, and I'm not going to be swayed by something that a podcaster says. I'm not even the one to believe all the leaks that come out. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to believe certain things, and if a leak comes out, oh, did you hear this and did you hear that? Well, maybe you should do a little bit of research. Maybe you should not actually believe everything that you hear.
Now, back when I was in high school, we called this gossip. Unlike then, today, luckily, I have a legal team who has forensic investigators tracking these attack scoops and leaks so that we can hold those responsible for defamation, harassment, and for inciting outright criminal threats of violence. Now, my lawyer told Deadline that this is Disney and Marvel's standard playbook. They have done this to other artists like me. With me, it's look at his Instagram. Doesn't he look thirsty? Isn't he a narcissistic egomaniac?
And what he does in his personal life has nothing to do with what he does in his business life, right? And I've seen a lot of those tweets, right? They tried to play, he posted a picture of Magneto and from the show where he's in his briefs and everything like that. And it seemed like that was an issue. You know what I mean? They talked about his OnlyFans, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first reason why they said they fired him, was because he had an OnlyFans. And I personally was like, so what? Who cares if he does have an OnlyFans? That's his personal life. It has nothing to do with what he's doing for Marvel. So I completely understand his point on that side. But at the same time, I can understand Marvel saying, well, this might not look good. And at the end of the day, people are human beings, and people live their life the way they want to live it. Nobody has a right to judge anybody on what they do in their life as long as they ain't hurting nobody.
Isn't it too vulgar, too sexual? This isn't someone celebrating their hard work or their journey in overcoming years of internalized racism and homophobia to finally become comfortable in their own skin. No, this is something shameful. This is smoke for a larger fire of predatory behavior. Growing up gay and Black in the South, I had to learn to accept that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that I would, by virtue of just being me, rub some people the wrong way. And let's be honest, this is true of almost everyone. Personality conflicts happen, especially in creative environments like Hollywood.
100%. I'm on this YouTube shit, and I rub people the wrong way. Not everybody likes me. I don't like everybody. So he's absolutely right. At the end of the day, people are human beings, and sooner or later, you're going to find people that don't like you, and you're going to find people that do like you. You know what I mean? Some people that rock with you, some that don't. So, again, personal life and those kind of things, it's not important.
I've worked on a lot of series under some showrunners who have imparted some lessons to me that I tried to apply on X-Men 97. And now, having run a show, I look back with a newfound appreciation for the struggles those showrunners faced. And I think the biggest takeaway I've had is that nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Most of us are just trying to do our best. And usually, grace and empathy are the best response to conflict and adversity. Do you think about it? That's what X-Men 97 season 1 was all about. But what's happening with Marvel, what's been going on here, is unlike anything I've ever experienced in this industry.
And I was like, oh, let's get into the dirt of it, right? Let's really find out what's going on with Marvel, right? We already know how they've treated T'Challa, right? We already know that they can't get this Blade movie they can't even get it off the ground. So it's like, why are you having such a hard time with Black characters? Why can't you? It's not that hard to make a Blade movie. It's a vampire hunter who hunts vampires. It's simple. The Wesley Snipes Blade movie was extremely simple. And the fact that they still aren't able to come up with a viable script, it's weird to me. It really is.
And it takes me back to those days of bigotry and antiquated personalities in the South. Now, the way things have also escalated behind the scenes in ways that I haven't been able to talk about, as well and on top of the emotional trauma that was inflicted upon me while working on this series, has taken me to some pretty dark places. Places I'm not proud of. Places that would have gotten a whole lot worse had friends and coworkers and family not rallied around me these last few months to remind me of who I am.
And I'm going to say this because there was a time in my life where I was in a dark place. So I can completely understand what it's like to be in a dark place. I was going through a depression. It was for 5 years and I just didn't care. And you know what I mean? So I know what it's like to be in a dark place. A lot of people will be like, oh, I'm depressed. But if you have never been in a depression, you do not understand what it's like, right? You can never understand what it's like. You can be depressed for a day, 2 week even. But when you're in a depression, it's a totally different thing. I'm not saying he was in a depression because I don't know. I haven't spoke to him and I would love to have a conversation with him on it. Absolutely 100%. But it sounds like he went through a depression. And to being kicked off one of the shows that I think everybody loved, I can see that. I could see him going through depression 100%. So it was good to know that he had family and people around him that were able to keep him in check. I didn't have that. And that's why it took me 5 years to get out of mine.
Because honestly, I'm just defeated and I'm tired and I'm a nobody who made one great show. And now I'm a nobody being viciously punished for it. And to spend decades fighting for a seat at a table where people like me usually don't get to sit. I think I can count the number of Black gay showrunners or just Black showrunners in Hollywood on one or two hands.
And it's funny that he said that because we had this conversation. I had it with Brian from the Spoiler Kings. Make sure to check out check out their channel, right? But we were talking about, something that happened on a stream and we were discussing. It's like, oh, you can just get another Black showrunner to do it. I'm like, bro, there's not that many out there. You know what I mean? And even if they are, you have to find one that is a fit. Someone that works with the project that you're trying to do. Not everybody can do an X-Men show. Not everybody can do a horror show. Not everybody can do, From or Lost or anything like that. So you have to find someone who fits the project. And as he's saying, if you can count them on one or two hands, that's slim pickings, man.
To just sacrifice everything and to do so much hard work to get there and then have it all stolen and your character assassinated because of lies is just, I don't know. As easy as it would be to hide away and run, I don't think I have a choice. We talk a lot about doing better, being the change we want to see. But that doesn't happen if we remain silent.
I've said that many times. When I talk about the racism and the bullshit that goes on X and Twitter, and I'm sitting there trying to fight it all the time, and people are telling me, why are you wasting your time? Just ignore it. Just let it go. You cannot. You cannot let this shit go. If you do, then it will never be changed. We have to be the ones to fight it because they ain't gonna fight that fight for us, right? They're fake allies. They will pretend like they care about representation and this and that. But if it doesn't bring them money, they ain't gonna give a shit. And we are the ones that have to fight that. We are the ones that have to sit around and make sure that we are not being talked about in a negative light because they're going to do it and they're going to constantly do it. And if they're on X, they're going to do it and fucking get away with it.
No matter how tired or defeated or how scared we may be, no matter if our reputation is being dragged through the mud in the public eye. Ironically, this is the central creed of X-Men, right? And while those at Marvel and those crew members who colluded with them on X-Men 97 can sleep at night, knowing what I know, knowing what they've done, I can't. And I haven't. Because the price of me being silent is other artists walking into that studio thinking that they are safe and protected, and later finding out that they're working for individuals who would profit off of shows and movies like Black Panther and X-Men, all the while themselves being the very villains those heroes face and fight every day just to have the right to be their authentic selves.
Another thing I'm going to say is that I'm glad he's doing this because we already know what Ray Fisher tried to say about Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon was big in the first couple of phases of the MCU, right? He was huge. And then DC brought him over there to take over for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And then Ray Fisher came out. And everybody was pretty much slamming Ray Fisher because he didn't actually break all the information. It's like, hey, let's give us all the information. Tell us what we need to know. We want to know this, and we want to know that, and we want to know this. And at the end of the day, he didn't really have to. He didn't have to tell us everything that was going on. The problem with him not telling us is that his name was dragged through the mud. And it's funny because I started seeing a lot of people trying to drag Beau DeMayo's name through the mud, right? Because they weren't getting the full information. They weren't getting the full story. So the fact that he's coming out here and he is still not yet giving the full story, and I get it, lawyers and everything, so he may have some things he can't tell us, but at the end of the day, he's coming out and he's giving us information. And that's all a lot of the people ever asked for.
When I took the job on X-Men, I was told that they valued my perspective and experiences as a queer Black man. And I made it very clear to them that I was not going to be the Black stamp of approval on the project. So it was agreed that due to the themes of the X-Men, as well as my experience and the just general excitement around my pitch, that I would supervise all areas and stages of production. Now, with this, I assumed the studio would protect me from those who maybe harbor biases against having someone who looks, speaks, dresses, and thinks like me as their creative leader and boss.
And if they didn't protect you, they probably would have if you jumped. You know what I mean? And I was going to say it, but if I say the N-word, I'm going to get limited and stuff like that. But that's what it is. It's like jump and jump. How high, massa? You want me to jump high, massa? I'll do that for you. If he had done that, it would have protected him. But because he fought back, because he didn't want to do some of the things that they wanted him to do, they didn't protect him. And then you get labeled as someone who's hard to work with.
Now, why was this important to me? Guys, just turn on the news. It's common for minorities in leadership roles to not be taken seriously, to have their credentials and their resumes continually questioned by those above and below them, and just generally be written off as a diversity hire who didn't earn the job.
Exactly. DEI. And that's the problem. A lot of people run around here and talk about how DEI is the problem, right? Didn't earn it. So you did not deserve to be in the position you are. But if you watch the show, there ain't nobody that could have did X-Men 97 better than this guy. I'm just going to say it. And I know it's like to say, well, no, don't say nobody, because I'm pretty sure there was someone out there. From what I seen, I don't think so. He stayed true. Go look at Marvel's history. Go look at their movies. Go look at their shows. They've never stayed true to the comic or anything in anything they've done. Nothing. Civil War, Endgame, Infinity War. As good as those movies were, they made their own stories. They did not follow the comics. They may have took in little themes from the comic, but that's it.
I thought Marvel would have my back against this stuff. Instead, the studio looked the other way as my identity was weaponized by Marvel execs and select crew members to undermine me, create a humiliating environment where people felt emboldened to use the same dog whistling stereotypes favored by bigots for decades. He's big, he's intimidating, too opinionated, angry, emotional, flamboyant, dramatic, a pervert.
Isn't that what they always do? The angry black man, right? When you don't do what they want you to do, the first thing they say is the angry black man, right? Now, they also have other things they can say because obviously Beau is a gay man, so they can use that as well. But he's big. Look at his arms, right? One of his arms is like two of mine. So they had to be careful what they said to him as well, because you don't want to get punched in the face. So at the end of the day, it is the narrative that they do, right? It is. When Jonathan Majors was going through his stuff, how much did we hear about all these allegations that were coming from his past, and they were digging into college girlfriends and all kinds of crap and saying this and saying that. But whenever they had the court case, there was none of that information that came out. Not one. Not a soul came out. They had all of these mystery victims, and not one mystery victim stood up and said anything. I wonder why that is.
When I called these things out, they pivoted to attacking my talent, accusing me of being too much of a fanboy. They openly resented me fighting for the fans, fighting for the comics. They accused me of playing karaoke with those comics. And repeatedly, I was told by these individuals that we should be doing our own version of X-Men, writing new stories, and not adapting those written by old white men, by which I could only assume they were referencing individuals like Stan Lee and Chris Claremont.
And this is why Marvel has the issue that it has today, is because they don't understand what we want. Okay, so let me say this. We don't want a perfect adaptation of a comic book. You can do certain things and take liberties with your show, but at least stay true to the comic book. If you're going to give us Infinity War, you give us Infinity War or Infinity Gauntlet, you give us an adaptation of the comic. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but you give us at least elements of that. And I think Beau DeMayo has done that perfectly with X-Men 97. Spoiler alert. When Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine, that was one of my favorite scenes in the comic, and I almost lost my shit when I seen he did it in the cartoon. I was like, no, they're not leading up to this. I was like, no, this is not what's gonna happen. And when that shit ends, yo, bro, like, I was jumping. It was well done. Well fucking done.
Now, my response to this was to try to calmly outline that fans didn't want to see our version of the X-Men. They, like me, want to see the characters that they have loved for decades faithfully adapted on screen.
Absolutely.
Now, in return, these individuals would then attempt to sabotage me on my job, painting me as abusive when I declined to make wholesale changes to characters, when I declined to have Jubilee fire plasmoids for her mouth, or make gang signs, or paint the sky with plasmoids in the shape of middle fingers.
And it's funny that he says that, because what does that do? Even if he said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna be this yes guy and do what you want me to do, like, who wants to see that? What's the point of, I guess it would be as a joke where I guess Jubilee or whoever throws something up the air and it gives a finger, ha ha ha, that's funny. But that's not the characters that we grew up with.
What was worse, and what really just hurt, is as I fought for when I felt that fans and audiences want, I was then being painted as being uncollaborative, too difficult, too much of a fanboy, and one executive's favorite phrase to fire at me: Beau, you need to learn to turn your comic book collector brain off. They chose to treat me as a child that needed to be scolded, even as I was drawing upon 40 plus years of dealing with ignorance just like theirs, having survived traumas that they cannot even begin to imagine, never mind understand or appreciate.
That's the problem. Is because there's a lot of these higher ups that think they know better than the people making the show, that think they know better than the fans. They think they know better than us. They think they know what we want, when in reality, they have no clue of what we want to see. They just don't. They're stuck in this, I don't even know. I can't even say time warp, because they're not like they're going back to the past and be like, yeah, let's do this. No, they just don't know what we want to see. And then when they do give us something we want to see, X-Men 97, and it's a hit, they don't like that. I think that's one of the big issues, is that they hated the fact that this show was a hit, and it was a hit because it stayed true to the comic book, because it stayed true to the original cartoon. They don't like that, because now you make them look bad, because they think they know what they want, or they think they know what we want. And then when it doesn't, and they find out it's not what we want, it's like, oh, well, you tried to undermine us. And it's so stupid.
Maybe, and yes, needless to say, look around me, I take X-Men very seriously. Specifically, I take this specific show's legacy very seriously. It saved my life as a kid, and I know it did others. So when individuals refer to it as just a cartoon, that bumped me. Now, luckily, as I said before, I grew up learning how to spot these types of tactics, these antiquated personality, this type of scapegoating and stereotypes. And so knowing that, and then with the help of the amazingly talented crew on X-Men 97, was still able to get X-Men 97 across the finish line, even if doing so cost me my job and now my reputation.
Yeah, because you didn't do what they wanted you to do. You didn't juck and jive for them, right? You did your own thing. And to be fair, sometimes they'll just like get rid of you and hire someone else that will do the job. So the fact that they at least let you finish the first season, I'm at least grateful for that. And I think you said that they were going to use your treatments, or, for what you had for season 2, which I'm also glad for that as well. But you should be running it, because at the end of the day, you're going to have someone who's going to think, oh, well, maybe this will be a little bit better. And even though they may follow your treatments, they're going to change a lot of shit. They're going to change a lot of shit. And they're probably going to ruin it. Me personally, I know I don't want to say everything. I don't want to say like, oh, I hope it sucks. But because of what they did to this guy, and because of the show he made, I kind of do.
So this gets to the bigger, larger question, the bigger picture. What would cause Disney and Marvel to attack me this bad, to come at me this hard? I'm going to try to break it down as simply as I can, while operating within the parameters of some NDAs that my lawyer and I are still working out. I think the simplest way to put it is that the things I witnessed while working at Marvel were beyond wrong and unethical. It is wrong for a crew producer who repeatedly white-splains to his boss to respond to his boss's concerns on January 9th of this year with, "This has jack shit to do with me being white." It is wrong for that same producer to repeatedly joke to the crew about how he showed my thirst traps on Instagram to his underage son, and his kid is wondering, do they need to buy me shirts for Christmas?
I see that. You know what I mean? I could see them doing certain things to try to belittle the man. And, especially with the fact that he has that Instagram, or he has his OnlyFans, right? All of this is a way to either get you to get you to quit the project, right? Or find reasons why they can fire you. It's crazy.
It is wrong for this same producer when I notify them that one of our leads is having a potentially exploitative sexual relationship with a PA, for this producer to bury my report and actually go to the individual in question and let them know that I had ratted on them so that they can then work together to discredit me.
I can see that too, 100%. We already know, like, I've done shows on the OOC where we talked about certain things in Hollywood and everything just seems shady, right? It just seems like a good old boy situation where you're going to follow and you're going to do what we say. And if you don't do what we say, we're going to make sure you never work in this town again. I'm pretty sure he's heard that. I'm pretty sure one of them has said that to him. It's crazy.
It is wrong for Marvel execs to roll their eyes when I raise concerns about being bullied and targeted on account of my identity, and to tell me to deal with it because these individuals are amazingly talented. It is wrong for an artist on the show to repeatedly denounce all men as jerks and to accuse me of failing the cause because I am keeping a jerk like Cyclops as leader of the team. It is wrong.
As Cyclops should be the leader of the team, and then later on you can probably change that, right? But at first, if you're gonna go with comic book narrative, then yes, Cyclops is the leader of the team, and they don't have to make him a jerk.
Wrong to question my intelligence because my muscles don't make me look like a writer, or to talk about how I am thick with 2 C's. It is wrong.
Oh, that could be, maybe they wanted a piece, Beau. You know what I mean? Maybe they were calling you thick because they wanted a piece. We call it Holly weird. Up here in Canada, we say that place is weird, right? And we already know that those men in power like to use that power. Did he?
Wrong for Marvel leadership to pat themselves on the back while giving me notes on a Blade script, a table of white men laughing as they tell me, hey, look at us. We hired a young Wesley Snipes to write the new Blade movie. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is so that you can see that Wesley Snipes and I look nothing alike.
If they say that, and I'm going to say if, right? I believe him, but I'm just going to say if. If they said that, that is absolutely crazy, bro. That just goes to show you they still have the all black men look alike kind of narrative. You know what I mean? All N-words look the same. I cannot even imagine the crap that he went through if all of this stuff is true. And again, I'm going to say all of it because even though I believe him, there will be people out there who don't. There will be people out there in my comments, oh, you're a simp, you're doing this, you're doing that, blah, 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 whatever. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, and I've said it before, and I tell it to one of my friends all the time, you can't let people talk about you all the time and not clap back. Sooner or later, you are going to have to clap back because what happens is the more it gets out, the more people believe it. And then out. At a point, it's going to be to where no matter what you say, it doesn't matter because people are always going to believe the bullshit narrative that came out first. You got to nip it in the butt, man. You got to be like, no, this is not the case, and I am not going to let people talk about me and discredit everything that I've done.
And it is wrong when I suggested this past February that we reach out to RuPaul's Drag Race to find a way to promote X-Men with a beloved queer franchise on that show, to be told by Marvel that they wouldn't want to alienate certain audiences. It is wrong for their publicity department to list homosexuality as a hot button issue to avoid alongside school shootings, the Gaza conflict, and abortion.
Okay. This is one that's hard to unpack, right? Okay, so first off, we already know that Marvel already has an issue with doing certain things, right? Now, for the rumors and what we've heard is that they didn't want to do a Black Panther movie, and Kevin Feige had to fight for that. They didn't want to do a Captain Marvel movie until Wonder Woman did so good, right? So we already know where they stand on that situation. Marvel is a business. They do have to be careful about which people they alienate. They're already alienate a lot of black people with what they're doing with T'Challa. They're alienating a lot of us, right? You can tell by the numbers of Wakanda Forever didn't do as good as the first Black Panther. Now, there could be a lot of things involved as to why it didn't do as good, which I have said that, a lot of the times the second movie doesn't do as well. But one of the major issues, and it can't be denied, is because they did not have T'Challa in it. So I understand a little bit, but at the same time, if Marvel is so like, giving people opportunities and this and that, and we don't discriminate against anybody, then that shouldn't have been a problem.
It is wrong for Marvel execs to foster inappropriate professional relationships with the artist I mentioned prior, so as to push others out of the creative process who are not like them based on their identities. It is wrong for these two same individuals to write off an interracial relationship between Bishop and another white character as creepy and something that belongs on Skinamax. Of course, these two individuals did not have any issues with far racier moments in season 1 involving white characters. And what I want to point out here is these.
I'm curious to know, right? He said they were upset with Bishop and a relationship. Were you trying to create a gay relationship for Bishop and that's what they didn't like? Or is it that they didn't like the fact that it was an interracial relationship, right? That's what I'm curious. And then who were you planning to put Bishop in this relationship with? Because when you watch the show, Bishop doesn't really do much. You know what I mean? And I think that's an issue as at least a couple of my friends have had, is that the black characters, Bishop and Storm, even though Storm had her badass moments, they really didn't do enough in the series. And I think that's an issue that a lot of people had too. So I'm just curious to think about what type of relationship it was, that you were trying to do with Bishop there. Hopefully one day we'll get to find out.
Anonymous scoops that keep on using the word creepy. I heard that term from these individuals multiple times. It is wrong for this lead artist to relay to me at a company barbecue in 2021 that her husband felt that I must get a lot of dick based upon how I look.
That is crazy. But I don't put it past them, right? We have Terry Crews who got groped by a producer. You know what I mean? Just came straight up and grabbed his penis, right? Just like that. And look at Terry Crews. Look how big Terry Crews is, right? So you have to be very bold to be able to run up there and grab a man's penis like that who looks like Terry Crews does. So I can look at Beau DeMayo. He has arms. He works out. I can see them treating him exactly the same way. I could see it 100%. That's crazy. What he does in his personal life is none of your business. So let's say he is getting dick after dick after dick. Who the fuck cares? That's not your business.
It is wrong to paint me as a nightmare for advocating for more representation for characters like Storm and Bishop and more.
And you see, so he said he was trying to get more representation. So now my question is, did you have more for Storm and Bishop to do, right? Did they cut it out? Did they tell you no, right? Because that would make a lot of sense if that were the case. It's like, because Bishop came in, like, what, a couple episodes? I can't remember. It's been a while ago. Storm had a few episodes, but really didn't do much. She lost her powers, and then they had that little thing with Forge, right? And then she came back, and it's just, I can understand that if they didn't want you to do that representation, then they probably made you cut a lot of that stuff out. Wow.
And if you want to know why they're coming at me so hard, why they're risking basically just lying to you, it's because this is not even the half of it. Ultimately, the last straw for me was when I got to Atlanta to work on Blade, and I saw others being treated like me, being told that someone needed to crack the whip around here. Crack the whip in Atlanta, Georgia.
Now, are we surprised? Again, right? Hollywood is full of racists, right? You know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense that they don't care. Money is power. And a lot of these guys in power think they are untouchable. This is the thing. This is why they feel like they can get away with saying and doing whatever they want to do. It's because there's no consequences for their actions. Now, you would think that with what happened with Diddy and R. Kelly, that you would, and Harvey Weinstein, that, hey, there can be some consequences to your action. But because it's so far in between, it's like, if it happens, it happens. Most likely it won't. So I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to take this power that I have, and I am going to abuse the people that work under me.
At Tyler Perry Studios, which were formerly barracks during the Civil War. Now, after witnessing this and far worse incidences that I am not yet prepared to talk about on Blade, I relayed my concerns to Marvel on September 6th, 2022, hoping to work with them to do better, urging them to reflect on the biases that we all have. In return, I was removed from the project in the middle of moving to Atlanta for production, and then had my role on season 2 of X-Men 97 aggressively marginalized, despite the integrity of my work in season 1.
I just hope that you get to the point where you actually want to tell us what happened on Blade, right? We need to know. We need to know why Blade is taking so long to come out. You have a great actor who was ready to play Blade, and this movie still has not come out. They've been rewriting script after script after script, and it just it makes me wonder as to why it's so hard to get this movie done. Then you have Wolverine and Deadpool, where Wesley Snipes says there is only one Blade. And at the time I was thinking, it was just a little, side remark. But now I'm beginning to think, yeah, there's probably not going to be a Blade. And that's why he said it, right? That's why they put that in there. Absolutely crazy. But you know what? When they're ready to get that black money again, you better believe they'll have a Blade script ready. You better believe that they will do another Black Panther with T'Challa. When they see that, black money is going down and they need to get it bumped back up again, that's when they're going to cater.
And this is going to be very important because the quality of my work on X-Men 97 has been spoken about by Marvel several times, like Brad Winterbaum's March 15th interview with Entertainment Weekly following my exit of the show. It happened again on May 17th. Also in EW, when Winterbaum insisted that they were following my blueprint and my vision for season 2.
Also, it's great to know that you still have these dates, right? Because that shows us that you have receipts, right? Because I don't remember what happened 2 weeks ago, right? You asked me what happened on a certain day, like, I don't know. So the fact that you remember the dates shows me that you have receipts, and I can't wait for those receipts to get dropped.
Now, this raises a question. If all these rumors and this pattern of egregious misconduct were true, why would you have the head of Marvel TV making such statements to the press when fans reacted badly to me being dismissed, when they began demanding me back? Why not say all of this then?
because what happens is the backlash comes in, right? And people get upset, and people are expressing how they feel. So what they're gonna do is, instead of, hey, we fired him, we're not gonna bring him back, but don't worry, guys, we're gonna put his vision out there. You know what I mean? We're gonna make sure that his vision gets out there. And you know what the effed up thing about it is? If they change it, unless you tell us, we won't know, right? So it's good to know that you're on these platforms and doing this, because you can let us know that when season 2 comes out, be like, nah, that wasn't my idea. That was my idea. That was not my idea. Because even though they say they're going to stick to it, they are going to change a shit load of stuff. Guaranteed.
But when I spoke out about the Emmys and them stripping me of my season 2 credits based upon a gay pride post, then all these narratives appear. And actually, if I really think about it, the season 2 credit issue and them stripping is a perfect example of the type of manipulative dishonesty they're going for here. Disney has alleged that I breached my exit agreement several times. Breaches, much like egregious, sound so bad, so serious. I must have done something terrible after my exit to make them strip me of my credits.
And that's the thing that a lot of us have asked, right? What did you do? Because what they talked about or what they said you did just didn't make sense, right? It's just like firing Jonathan Majors for some stupid misdemeanor crap. It just doesn't make sense. Like, so what? You have an OnlyFans? Because from what I remember, that was the first major thing I heard why they fired you, right? I could be wrong, and someone in the chat can explain to me or tell me if I'm wrong or not. But I remember them saying the reason why is because of the OnlyFans. I'm like, so what? So what if the man has OnlyFans? Big deal. What does that got to do with anything? You know what I mean? First off, you got to pay to be on OnlyFans. Two, it's only for people 18 and over. So who cares? Ain't kids aren't supposed to see that. And if they do, then is it his fault? Or is it the kid's parents' fault that he's going on OnlyFans?
But here's what really happened. The exit agreement, which they coerced me to sign under threat of removing all of my credits, lacked certain civil rights protections that California law requires, thus rendering it invalid. My legal team notified them of this, but still, Marvel persisted for months to harass and stalk my social media, looking for any ammo possible to attack me.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was that last picture of Magneto is when I started hearing all of the bull crap they started saying about you, is when you put that last picture of Magneto on there.
Now, what were these breaches, though, they're actually referencing? It was me talking to you, the fans. It was me speaking about Pulse after episode 5 on Twitter and how much of an influence it was on the vision of the series. It was me at a bar speaking at a screening event, talking about how I had outlined 5 seasons of the show. It was me thanking fans on Twitter and Instagram for their support, highlighting cast and crew, speaking positively about Marvel, posting fan art. These were the offensive breaches.
And I remember, because I've been following you since I watched 97, and I've been following your accounts, and I've seen the stuff you put out, the hints, you guys read this comic, you guys do this. I've seen nothing. Now, I can't say anything about Instagram or those other sites, but for X, I've seen nothing ever that you said negative about Marvel. Nothing to me that would verify them wanting to fire you. So, yeah.
And somehow they justify this campaign to erase me from the show I created, with Marvel going so far as to actively blacklist me from third-party non-Disney Comic-Con panels this past summer, all the way to denying me invites and blocking me from attending award shows like the Emmys, which we've talked about.
Now, I don't know if you've tried to get other jobs, but they're probably blacklisting you from a lot more than just that, brother. I can promise you that whatever type of job you try to go for, writing job, whatever, it's going to be a fight because Marvel has probably, if I'm not mistaken, or if they didn't already, put it out there that you are hard to work with. That's how they blacklist people, that they are hard to work with.
And as I go through all this, I really have to wonder just how X-Men Season 1 managed to turn out as well as it did. And then I think about the crew. The overwhelming majority of the crew of X-Men 97 are some of the most talented, kind-hearted people I have ever met. They're insanely talented. And I still feel so honored that they trusted me and my vision and worked so hard to make it a reality, despite Marvel and others on the crew who would have had us deliver something wholly subpar for the sake of their egos.
And that is not what we wanted. You gave us exactly what we wanted when you did X-Men 97. And I'm going to be real. I remember when the trailers came out, people were complaining, right? Let's not forget there were a few people out there with rumblings and complaining about certain things. Some of them didn't like the animation. Some of them didn't like certain things that I can't even remember right now because at the end of the day, I try to block all that crap out. You know what I mean? I seen the trailer. I said it looks fire. And what everybody else wanted to complain about just went over my head. Like, I don't care. At least watch the show before you judge it. And when it came out, all that negative stuff went out the window, right? From episode 1, the minute it started with the intros and, it was just really good. And I stopped hearing negative stuff about it.
I have received a lot of messages from them, a lot of messages of support and love. And they have gotten me through some really dark times, the dark times I was talking about earlier. But I was also infuriated to learn,
of course,
that Marvel publicity internally has been actively working to prevent them from speaking about their positive work experiences with me, going so far as to interrupt interviews they are giving to sites like IGN and forcing them to re-record answers that erase me or mitigate my contributions. They've been told not to give Beau too much credit or to not go overboard with how influential Beau was on the series.
that makes sense. If they want to take away your credits, then they're also going to want people to not know how important you were to the show. So yeah, they're probably going to tell people to not mention you or, don't give you as much credit as you deserve, like you said. I can see them doing that 100%, because then they got to explain the real reason as to why they fired you, right? And to just avoid that, they just act like you never existed.
And when Marvel tells you to do something, comes with the implied threat of what will happen if you don't. And if the crew had any doubts, they just needed to look at what happened and what is happening with me right now.
Yeah.
But actually, what concerns me the most out of these messages I have received is the fact that the X-Men 97 crew are still being abused, just like I was. Abused with impossible pipeline demand that endanger their health and safety, and studio politics that create a toxic environment that turns individuals against one another, stokes paranoia to ensure compliance.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? Because we are all pretty much Marvel fans, right? And we're all sitting there and we're all watching these movies, giving Marvel their hard-earned money. And do we really think about what's going on behind the scenes? Do we really think about how they're treating these showrunners, directors, producers, and all the people that have something to do with it? Because we all know for them, it's all about money. That's all it is. That's all it ever will be, right? Do they care about us? Do they care about the people that are creating it? They care as long as you're making $1 billion for them. But if you're not, they don't give a shit.
These people are tired, they're scared, some of them are broken, and they've been reaching out to me for help. And we've seen VFX artists try to raise awareness about the near criminal working conditions at Marvel. Nothing has changed. I had editors falling asleep at the wheel. I had individuals rapidly losing weight, having mental breakdowns. And when I reached out to Marvel about these safety issues, when I emailed them, the response I got was the same response I got when I reported prejudicial conduct. More retaliation.
Suck it up, Buttercup. It's pretty much what they probably said, right? Suck it up. Because this is a business, we have deadlines, and we got to hit those deadlines. And if we don't, or you can't do it, we'll find someone else that can.
Now, in the end, the offenses Marvel and others have leaked are designed to distract you from what really offended them. As someone like me dared to speak truth to people like them. They wanted me to be the black stamp of approval on this project. I declined. They wanted to erase aspects of my personality that clashed or proved inconvenient with the misguided narratives they wanted to establish. I declined. They tried to intimidate me with both explicit and implied threats. I was not intimidated. Everything they have done since then has been designed not just to silence me and smear me, but to crush me and to remind me to know my role.
100%. That's exactly what it is. Know your role and shut the hell up. Absolutely 100%. Because if it wasn't for us, you would never have this opportunity. So you should be grateful of the opportunity that we have given you and shut your mouth and do exactly what we tell you to do. Because you don't know what the fans want. We do. We know how to run this company. We have been making billion-dollar movies and they have been making a lot of money, so we are doing something right. So what you need to do is fall in line if you ever want to work with us again. Guaranteed, that's what they said.
So what next then? Honestly, it is so tempting to just drop all the names and receipts that I have online.
Please do.
It has been soul-crushing watching the very same people who committed the above do press and podcast interviews, screening Q&As, Comic-Con panels, where they claim to be fans, while discussing a show that denounces the very prejudice and ignorance that they peddle. Honestly, this means you have actually already seen their faces and may already know their names. And should X-Men 97 win an Emmy, you'll see them again as some of the faces that take that stage to accept an award for a show about intolerance and identity are the very same people who disrespected mine and routinely wrote me off as a DEI hire.
I'm going to have to do some research because I don't know who these names are, and I actually want to know who they are. You know, I want to know who you're talking about. I know there are people out there who probably know more than I do and know who you're talking about. So write it in the comments for me. Let me know who they're talking about. But yes, 100%. They think any black man, woman, or any, if you're not white, you were a DEI hire. We talk about it all the time on the OOC, where it's like sometimes they just get the right person for the job. But to everybody else, you did not earn it.
Tempting as it may be to just drop it all online, that would make me no better than them. I would prefer to present this evidence to Disney and Marvel and work with them so that those responsible are able to receive what I was not: a full and fair investigation away from the public eye, one that is confidential and that resembles some form of just ethical due process. Disney, Marvel, my team and I have already started your investigation. I have the receipts and the eyewitnesses, so long as you stop coercing them to lie.
And as I said earlier, the fact that you have dates, you have receipts, that shit is going to work in your favor. So I hope you have everything to put the nail in the coffin to this, because at the end of the day, we want to know what is really going on. You know, I believe you. I know a lot of people out there believe you. I know there are some skeptical people out there as well. And I think with this video and the information that's going to come out down the line, I think at the end of the day, people will realize that it wasn't you, that it was Marvel. And I hate to say this because I have been a Marvel fan from the first Iron Man movie. Like I was hooked. You know what I mean? Now granted, the movies have declined big time, but I'm still there. I'm still watching these movies, you know? And now we have Brave New World coming out. And how do I boycott a black led superhero movie when we've only had three in the MCU, right? And I'm saying three because of Wakanda Forever, right? Even though it wasn't a black male, it was a black female. We've had that. We've had Black Panther, and now we have Brave New World. It's really hard for me to want to boycott this movie when I know what it means and I get it. I seen the post where someone said they were going to not see it because of what happened to T'Challa, but that doesn't benefit us. Doing that doesn't benefit us because if we stop going to see these movies, they're going to stop making them. They're not going to sit there and say, well, because they didn't see them, we're going to bring T'Challa back. No, they're going to think that we don't want to spend money to see them and they're going to move on to other things. It's a catch-22. I get it. You're mad about what they did to T'Challa. 100%. Even I say it's time for them to bring back T'Challa. I do. 100%. But at the end of the day, boycotting doesn't help. And especially we're boycotting a black-led superhero movie. We can't do that.
You can keep attacking me with lies and misinformation, and we can become the ugliest, most annoying version of that back and forth tennis ball meme. Or you can start acting like a studio that is worthy of a show like X-Men 90s. This is me, basically trying to do the right thing. And this is Marvel's chance to do the same. And just like with the past 4 years, I'm still willing, I'm still here, trying to help you seize the opportunity to do better.
The problem is they don't and will never see it that way. You are now the enemy, right? You are putting business out there that they probably never want to be discussed by anybody they have hired. And you are taking them to court. You're hiring a lawyer. So it's wishful thinking that they would want to do the right thing, but they won't. You're enemy number one to them. And the worse it gets, the harder it's going to be for you to get a job because it's Marvel, because they have power, because they're going to put your name through the mud. It's going to get worse, brother. Just stay strong, keep that head up, and keep fighting the good fight.
Now, while my legal team and I work to hold those accountable, and we will, I will be using this page to basically give fans and audiences what they have been asking me for months, which is behind the scenes content on how we created X-Men 97, as well as being able to just talk about other shows I've been on, other experiences, talk about writing as a craft, and all things nerdy, gay, and black. This is also good.
And I would love to have you on my platform to discuss all of these things, right? Anything you want to talk about, anything you feel like you want to get off your chest, I have the platform for it. It's called the OOC, Off Our Chests, where you can get whatever the fuck you want off your chest. And we don't judge nobody.
give me a great opportunity to highlight individuals on the show, unsung heroes, in my opinion, who have been also erased from press events due to studio politics or just generally because they support me. But what I'll also be doing is showing you how I baked the very trauma I was experiencing at Marvel into the show I was making for them. When Magneto talks about how they still come for you, even if you play by their rule, when Storm laments how the more she used her gifts to help humans, the more they hated her, I did not write these lines by accident. This was me coping with being gay, Black, and open about it at Marvel Studios.
And there's a lot of things in that show that I think, a lot of people would love to discuss and get your mindset on what you were thinking when you did this or when you did that, right? Was it hard for you to, or even hard for them to let you kill Gambit? You know what I mean? Because you rarely get like major Destiny show, and you gave us one, and Gambit went out with like a hero. So 100%, we do want to know about these things. We want to hear everything you have to say. I just hope you do a lot of it on YouTube so that we can actually watch it.
Now, before I end, I want to thank everybody for just showing up, for listening. I know there will be people, many people, who for various reasons will not believe a thing I've said.
Absolutely.
Who think I'm just pulling the diversity cards. But to those of you who do believe, and actually, now that I think about it, to those of you who don't but still took the time to watch all of this, thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. Because despite all of this, despite what I've endured and what I still yet will endure, the fact that we were able to give fans and audiences something like X-Men 97, something where people just felt so seen and heard, makes all of this work. Ultimately, it's my love for X-Men that is compelling me to speak the truth today, full well knowing that it could likely end my career. One last thing that bears mentioning. Across 3 projects and in 6 years of working for Marvel, I was never once spoken to, disciplined, warned by HR. That is, until 4 days after I sent a text message to a Marvel employee saying that I no longer felt safe at the studio as a gay Black man. This conversation with HR, 4 days after I sent that text, was the same conversation where I was dismissed. Thank you for listening. I'm really looking forward to the content we're going to be providing here, to discussing all things nerdy and X-Men. And so I will see you next week.
Ooh, that was a video and a half, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. You can go and check it out on his channel without my commentary if that's an issue for y'all. But I just want to first off say thank you, Beau, for what you gave us with X-Men 97. I say it all the time that I think it was one of the best things that is on Disney Plus when it comes to the Marvel series. It's better than all of them. And you did that. Unfortunately, you did say at the end that, you're going to speak out and it might be the end of your career. Yeah. If we know history, if we know what they do to especially people of our color, you're going against the bosses. You're probably going to have a hard time finding another job, really and truly, But I think you do have a career here on YouTube. I do think you will. Your channel will do very well if you keep it up and put out content. A lot of people want to know what you planned to do with the 5 seasons that you mapped out, right? What's going to be different when they bring out season 2, what they've changed that from what you originally had planned, right? So people eat it up, At the end of the day, Marvel was a stepping stone that probably didn't work out good enough, didn't work out well enough, didn't work out at all. But at the end of the day, you stood by your guns and you did and are doing what you need to do. So I have nothing but respect for that. I personally believe you. I believed you from the start. I always thought it was funny and weird as to why they fired you, especially when the first initial report was because you had a fucking OnlyFans. Just didn't make sense to me, right? What people do in their own life is their own life. As long as you ain't hurting nobody, you do whatever the hell you want to do. That should not matter. As long as you put the product out there that people love and makes money for them, then it shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, that's not how the world goes. Unfortunately, you have to be prim and proper and all kinds of crap, and it's just... Anyways, thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Beau DeMayo, if you ever want to come on a platform and discuss some of these things, I would love to have you. It would be a great conversation. There'll be no judgment, and I will let you say whatever you want to say because that's how I roll. People, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe him? Do you believe Marvel? Do you think there's more to it? Or do you think he's just scorned because he was fired off of his show? I would like to know. But other than that, thank you everybody for coming in. I appreciate it. Peace, love, and hair grease, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Let me tell y'all what's happening. Man, I ain't doing no capping. Chilling with girls in the video, show me love, cause they know that I be racking. All the damn time when I'm rapping. I'ma tell y'all what's happening. What's happening? I'ma pull the act up, I'ma roll the back up, then I get cracking. What in the fuck are you gonna do? I roll up a gun right in front of you. I got a 4-runner on 22.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And like that, he's gone.